Fired up yet? I think we are live. Okay, welcome to Gamcast for Saturday afternoon. We're here to talk about the wave of injunctions over Trump's executive orders having to do with the executive branch and DOGE and the coming constitutional crisis. I've been on this. Trump's barely been president for over 2 weeks, and I've been predicting this now for about 10 days. It's as clear as the eye can see. We're going to pretty soon have a constitutional crisis. I'll explain why. But before I do, please, if you enjoy this, like, comment, share, and subscribe. It will really help us out a lot. So you're looking right here at a picture of John Marshall in my article on Substack, greatamericanmail.substack.com, greatamericanmail.substack.com. The last real huge constitutional crisis as to the courts and the presidency occurred back at this time. You might have heard of a case called Worcester versus Georgia. Most of us learned of it in school as the Trail of Tears. That was where John Marshall, the third Supreme Justice, by far the most famous and powerful Supreme Court Chief Justice ever, ruled that the Cherokee Nation absolutely had a sovereign right, and Georgia and Andrew Jackson could not march the Cherokees out of Georgia to steal their gold. The court ruled that that was illegal, and Andrew Jackson, the president at the time, ignored the order and was famously quoted as saying, John Marshall has made his decision. Let's see him enforce it. That's actually not what he said, but it's the better quote. The actual quote is, the decision of the Supreme Court has fell stillborn, and they find it cannot enforce Georgia to yield to its mandate. But the point was, Andrew Jackson said, basically, look, you only have the power of persuasion and reason, and I'm the one who's supposed to enforce your orders, and I'm not going to enforce that order. Now, morally, he may have been wrong in that case, but Trump should do the same thing here. And let me tell you why. Because these orders coming from these judges are absurdly, yeah, I said that thrice, unconstitutional. And here's why. The orders relating to his executive order about birthright citizenship or something like that, it's colorable. I don't think courts should be able to enjoin it either. I think only the Supreme Court should be able to do it. But setting that aside, it's at least colorable because it has something to do with rights and laws of people who whether have citizenship or not. All these injunctions, and they're up to about 2 or 3 of them, they all have to do with how Trump runs the executive branch. So by way of example, here you have the opinion of the New York district judge, who has basically said that Trump cannot permit the Treasury Secretary to permit DOGE people to see Treasury data. Now, that's absurd because Trump is the commander-in-chief of the executive branch. This has all been basic law since 1926, right? And in this case of this judge in New York, he doesn't even have an act of Congress to try and rely upon, okay? So that's how out of league he is. Now, the judge who issued the order having to do with USAID, who, by the way, is a Trump judge, just to show you that Democrats are not the only ones playing this hoax, he says, turning to the likelihood of success on the merits, and this is whether you can lay off DOGE employees, plaintiffs have asserted at least a colorable argument that placing 3,000 USAID employees on administrative leave would violate the Further Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2024. So apparently the Democrats, when they were negotiating that last omnibus bill with the Republicans, because the Republicans signed on to this, snuck in there that it has to the State Department and that's to USAID. Before you can do any reorganizing or downsizing, you have to ask Congress and provide a reason. Now, imagine, again, for hundreds of years, no one has ever doubted that Congress cannot do that. They make a law, they create an agency, and then the president, as commander-in-chief under the Constitution, co-equal branches, they cannot regulate that. Democrats are spoiling for this fight. I had a video a couple of weeks ago that talked about the idea that they did it with the inspector generals. That was back in 2022 when they had complete control of the Congress. What you're seeing here, folks, is Democrats set up a fight between the powers of the presidency, which commander-in-chief or you're not, or where the Congress can then come in here and pass laws and say, hey, you know what? If you want to do something that's within your purview, you got to come to us. They cannot condition it. And if I were Trump, I would do the Jacksonian thing. I would say, you've made your decision, now let's see you enforce it to all these people. And the guy in New York that did the Treasury thing, he's way out of bounds because he doesn't even have this nonsense congressional argument. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, again, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really does help content creators. And not just for me. Any content creator you like, you should do that. And if you do, you will see me on the next one.